The millionaire fails miserably until his housekeeper reveals a shocking hidden talent. Jonathan Wells sat alone in his penthouse, the city lights swallowing the skyline beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Central Park stretched out like a vast black canvas beneath him, silent and unmoving. The sharp lines of his sleek apartment felt cold tonight, as if the glass and steel trapped every desperate beat of his faltering heart. Another deal had just collapsed, publicly, spectacularly, and his name was whispered again, not with awe, but with pity. He slammed his fist on the marble countertop. The sound cracked through the room. He was drowning in the noise of failure, his empire cracking under the weight of relentless expectations. The media sniffed blood. High society turned its back. His phone buzzed non-stop, each message gnawing at his pride. Everyone who mattered had already written him off. Somewhere behind him, a soft shuffle sounded. Maria, his house. She watched Jonathan carefully. No fear, just an unreadable calm. "You've lost your edge, Mr. Wells," she said softly, voice low but steady, cutting through the tension like a whisper in a roaring storm. Jonathan barely turned. He didn't want pity, didn't want advice, but her words lodged in his chest, sinking deep, stirring something raw and furious inside. Maria stepped closer, her hands folded neatly, no trembling, no hesitation. "You don't see what you have right here," she said. The words dripped with meaning, like a secret waiting to explode. "Something you never knew, something I never told." But tightness gripped Jonathan's throat. His eyes flicked to her. What was she hiding? What could this quiet woman, who polished his silver and folded his shirts, possibly offer that might rescue his crumbling world? She reached into her pocket slowly, deliberately, and pulled out a small device. It glowed faintly, emitting a soft pulse that made the sleek apartment hum. "This," she said with sudden fire, "is a talent you never guessed I had. I've been saving it for when you needed it most." Jonathan's heart thudded painfully against his ribs. Suspicion warred with curiosity. His trembling hands hovered over the object. What was this? An impossible tool? A key to untold power? Or a trap waiting to snap shut? The silence thickened. Outside, the city murmured, unaware of the storm building high above its glowing streets. Jonathan felt the ground shift beneath his feet. His carefully built world was about to tilt in ways he couldn't predict. Maria's eyes locked with his, steady, knowing. "Do you trust me?" she asked, voice barely a breath. The question slammed into him. Trust, power, control. Suddenly, everything he believed about himself felt fragile, cracked wide open. Whatever this secret was, it threatened more than just his fortune. It threatened the very man he thought he had become. And somewhere deep inside, a small spark of hope flickered. Quick, wild, but real. But the night was far from over. The truth, waiting in the shadows behind Maria's calm smile, promised to change everything. "Hey," Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just quickly check that red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're at it, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jonathan's eyes stayed locked on Maria. The pulse from the small device casting a soft glow on her calm face. His breath hitched, throat tight, like he was caught between sinking and swimming. "Do you trust me?" She didn't blink, didn't flinch. He nodded slowly. I have to." The words felt fragile, like a last thread holding him upright. Maria's fingers brushed the device, and suddenly the gentle hum shifted. Quicker, sharper, alive. The lights flickered. A low vibration rolled through the floor. Jonathan's chest hammered harder now, panic prickling beneath his skin. Before he could ask what was happening, the front door slammed open with a brutal crash. The sound shattered the quiet like a hammer. Both of them spun around. 3 figures stepped into the penthouse, their faces hidden in shadow, voices. Jonathan Wells, "You're coming with us." The tallest one, thin, cold eyes, stepped forward, pulling out a badge that glinted under the apartment's dim light. "Federal agents, you're under investigation for embezzlement, fraud, and..." He paused, voice dropping. "Accessing classified tech illegally." Jonathan's breath froze. His mind raced. "I haven't..." The words died in his throat. Maria's face changed. The calm hawk's gaze melted into something else. Hard, sharp, commanding. Jonathan blinked. The device in her hand blinked now, bright and wild. "You don't know what you're dealing with," Maria said, stepping between him and the agents. Her voice cracked like thunder. "Jonathan isn't just a failed businessman. He's a man being framed." One of the agents sneered. "Lady, step aside. This isn't your fight." Maria didn't move. Her fist clenched tightly around the device. Then she pressed a hidden button. Suddenly, the walls trembled. Screens flickered on, revealing live feeds. Camera angles Jonathan had never seen before. Then her voice came over the speakers, calm but ruthless, as if broadcasting a bombshell to the whole city. "Jonathan Wells is innocent. This investigation, a setup by the very people who want him broken. But there's more." Her voice lowered, thick with meaning. "I'm not just his housekeeper. I was a cyber ops specialist, deep in government shadows. I retired to protect someone. Jonathan." Jonathan's world spun faster. His hand shot out, grabbing her arm. "What are you saying?" Maria's eyes held his, steady. "I've been hiding from enemies you didn't even know you made. The device I hold isn't just a tool. It's a tracker, a weapon, and a key to secrets powerful enough to destroy lives." Jonathan's heart twisted, as if the floor beneath him was underwater and pulling him down. The agents charged, weapons drawn. Suddenly, a deafening explosion ripped through the building. Glass shattered everywhere. Smoke filled the room. Sirens screamed from the street below. Jonathan coughed, choking on dust. Maria pulled him down behind the shattered marble counter. Her hand was steady on his shoulder, solid, real. But then the worst hit him. Mixed in the smoke, a voice crackled through the chaos. One of the agents, trembling, whispered a name. Maria. You're not who you say you are. Jonathan froze. His head spun. The woman he trusted, his lifeline, was hiding even darker shadows. But before he could question it, Maria's face twisted. In pain? Or fear? Or fury? Then, the device blinked red, a warning flashing across its tiny screen. And Maria whispered, almost a sob, "They know where I am. They're coming for me, for us." Jonathan's gut clenched. The fragile thread of hope snapped. He wasn't just losing his fortune anymore. He was losing everything. The city outside kept burning bright and cold. But inside, a far darker fire had started. Who was Maria really? And what nightmare was waiting to drag them both under? The truth, the real one, was still hidden in the shadows, closer than he dared imagine. And time was running out. Jonathan's breath hitched, the words barely registering before the room plunged into chaos. The device in Maria's hand now pulsed, red, a harsh, angry heartbeat against the low growl of sirens creeping closer outside. The agents shouted commands, stepping forward, but Maria stood firm, solid as a rock. Her eyes burned with something raw and fierce, like a storm about to break loose. Then, out of nowhere, the apartment lights exploded into darkness. A sharp crack filled the air, followed by a scream from the hallway. Jonathan's heart slammed against his ribs. His eyes struggled to adjust as shadow swallowed everything. "Stay down," Maria hissed, pulling him low behind the smashed counter. Her hand gripped his shoulder with iron. For a moment, nothing. Then a deep, guttural voice filled the gloom. "Enough games." Jonathan froze. The voice wasn't any of the agents. It was rough, cold, deadly familiar. A flash of movement. A figure stepped into the faint outline of the broken doorway. A man, tall, muscular, face half hidden by a hood. But those eyes, Jonathan's stomach dropped. "Dad?" The word cracked out, weak and broken, like a lost boy hoping against hope. The man's gaze locked with Jonathan's. A slow, cruel smile spread across his face. "I'm very much alive, Jonathan, and so is everything you thought you lost." Jonathan's world tipped. The stories he believed, the truth he thought he'd buried, they shattered in an instant. What is this?" His voice trembled. Maria's grip tightened. "You never told him, did you?" Her tone was low, bitter. The man stepped fully into the room, pulling back his hood. Jonathan didn't just see his father. He saw the ghost of his past, etched in scars, in cold muscle, in eyes burned with something darker than grief. "What you call failure," the man said slowly, "is the cover-up. Your company, a facade. The deals, smoke and mirrors. You've been playing a part all along, son." Jonathan's throat clenched. "I don't understand." "He planted the charges," Maria said through gritted teeth, nodding toward the agents now trembling with confusion at the unexpected guest. "Your investigation? A frame job tied to a war you never knew you were part of," the man added. Jonathan swallowed hard, trying to piece the words that felt like knives slicing through every memory. "Maria," the man said softly, almost with pity, "you were never just a housekeeper. You hide more than you say, but hiding from the past only makes the present a prison." Her eyes flashed fire. "And you? Disappearing all these years? What did that leave me to believe? That you were dead? That I was alone?" The air thickened, every breath heavy with betrayal and secrets darker than midnight. Suddenly, the man's gaze shifted sharply to the device in Maria's trembling hand. "That device," he hissed, voice low but lethal, "was never meant for defense. It's a beacon." Jonathan's heart stopped. "The beacon," the stranger continued, "that called me back, that brought them here." Maria's face turned pale. "No, it can't be." Jonathan looked at them both, at the woman who had sheltered him, and the man he thought was lost forever, and the ground slipped beneath his feet again. "This isn't a rescue," the man said, voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "This is the beginning of a war you were born into." And then, before anyone could move, the front window shattered, sending shards raining like stars. A dozen figures dove inside, guns blazing. The room erupted into chaos once more. Maria pulled Jonathan down, again. But now, the shock of the moment buried deeper truths. Because now Jonathan realized, the woman who saved him, the father he mourned, they were both keepers of a hidden war. And he was the unsuspecting key. As gunfire echoed and the city noise faded into a distant roar, Jonathan's thoughts spun wildly. Who had he trusted? Who had lied? Who was really hunting them? And most terrifying of all, why him? Glass shattered everywhere. The intruders flooded in, barking orders, weapons raised. Jonathan's heart pounded, his chest tight and raw. Maria shoved him behind the couch, her grip a vice on his arm. The acrid smoke clawed at his throat, coughing, jagged and sharp. Sirens wailing below faded into a dull roar. He swallowed hard, eyes darting. Maria's face was set, fierce, her silver hair stuck to her sweaty forehead. But beneath the steel, Jonathan caught a flicker. Fear or something deeper? Then the man who called himself his father stepped forward, calm amid chaos. "We don't have long," he said, voice low, almost gentle. "You're more tangled in this than you know." Before Jonathan could respond, Jonathan lunged forward, grabbing her. But her eyes, wide, terrified, locked on him, desperate and raw. "I have to tell you something," she whispered, hands trembling as she clutched the device tighter. His breath hitched, confusion and panic twisting inside. Then, before she could speak, the device blinked violently, and a loud, mechanical click echoed through the room. The lights went dead. Total darkness. Only the flicker of emergency exit signs outside bled in. And then, a voice, cold and steady, filled the space. Clear, unmistakable. "Warning, protocol activated." Jonathan froze. Maria's eyes flashed. No longer hidden fear, but something else. A mask sliding into place. "Jonathan," she said, voice shaking, but firm. "I'm sorry. I lied." His chest tightened. What are you talking about?" She swallowed, voice breaking. "I haven't been your housekeeper for years. I was planted, sent to watch you." "No," Jonathan whispered, disbelief crashing like waves. "Yes," she said, tears streaming now, but eyes hard. "Everything you believe, it's been a lie. The failed deals, the collapse, the ruin. It was orchestrated. By me." The room spun. The man, his father, stepped back, jaw slack, stunned. "Maria, what?" She shook her head, voice cracking with bitter finality. "I was never your protector. The device, you think it kept you safe? It was the key to turn you into a weapon, to break you down, make you weak enough to control." Jonathan's lungs seized. He could barely breathe. His hands trembled violently. "Why?" he choked out. "Why do this to me?" She looked at him, sorrow and steel clashing in her eyes. "Because you're more dangerous, alive than dead. You carry something they want. And I was the hand that bound you." The man in the hood's face paled. He whispered, "Jonathan, she's been with them the whole time." The words hit Jonathan like a blow. Betrayal exploded inside his gut. The woman he had leaned on, trusted, fought for, all a lie. Suddenly, the apartment flooded with blinding light. The room spun. Jonathan's phone burst to life on the floor, a screen flashing red with a staccato message. "Mission compromised. Target is the enemy." His knees buckled. Maria stepped back, her facade cracking under the weight of the truth she had shattered. For a long, cold moment, they just looked at each other. Betrayal burning raw and hot in the space between them. Then the man in the hood moved forward, voice low but urgent. "Jonathan, you're not who you think you are either." Jonathan's head whipped up, heart twisting hard like a knot. "What do you mean?" The man's eyes glinted with something fierce. "You were never a victim. You're part of this war. The war. From the start." The walls seemed to close in. Jonathan felt the ground drop beneath him, his hands clenched tight. All his life, all his memories flashed. False. "Who am I?" he whispered, voice thin, broken. "Who am I really?" Maria's lips quivered, the mask of loyalty gone. The man's smile was cold as ice. "You're the greatest secret of all." Then, before anyone could answer, the door slammed again. This time, a single figure stepped in, calm and deadly. Her eyes locked on Jonathan like a predator's. And when she spoke, the room froze. Jonathan Wells, or should I say, Agent Black? The name hit Jonathan like a punch. The truth that he was never Jonathan Wells. He was something else entirely, and none of it was real. Not his life, not his past. Everything he knew, shattered. And now, hunted by ghosts he didn't remember making. The city outside was quiet, for now. But inside, the war had just swallowed him whole. The woman's words hit Jonathan like ice water. Agent Black. The name wasn't just a label. It was a hammer smashing through everything he thought he knew. His breath caught. His knees nearly gave out. The room was thick with tension. Maria's mask had cracked, the truth spilling out cold and sharp. The man in the hood watched him like a predator sizing up its prey. And then, the woman, calm, deadly, just stood there, eyes locked on Jonathan, like a beast stalking its final strike. But before Jonathan could even begin to unravel the nightmare, his heartbeat thundered in his ears. The intruders froze, eyes wide, weapons lowered for a fraction. And then, with a sickening groan, the floor collapsed. Darkness swallowed them all. He fell, falling fast, deeper than he'd ever imagined. For a moment, his world turned upside down. His lungs burned, the wind yanking at him like ghosts pulling a drowning man down. Then, barely conscious, he hit cold, hard earth. Pain exploded up his spine. His breath cracked like glass. His eyes slammed shut. His body twitched with the shock. When he dared to open them, darkness ruled. But faint shapes flickered, a dim blue glow that pulsed slowly beneath an archway. Voices whispered just beyond hearing, strange and broken. Jonathan tried to move. His limbs felt heavy, leaden. Panic clawed at his throat. What the hell was this place? A woman's voice, soft, distant, floated through the void. "Sleep tight, Agent Black," it whispered. Jonathan's heart ceased. He realized then he wasn't alive. Not like before. The world he'd been dropped into wasn't just some hiding place. It was the inside of a machine. A glass tube sealed around him. His reflection stared back, cold and empty, but it wasn't his own. It was someone else's face. A stranger. Something metallic traced the side of his skull. His mind splintered with a surge of images flashing too fast. Numbers, faces, places. A woman's scream. Then, a hand reached out from the shadows. Not Maria. Not his father. Someone else. "Welcome back," the voice said. Thin, hard, familiar. Jonathan blinked, heart pounding hard against metal ribs. "You died." The words sliced straight through him. "No," he whispered, shaking. "That can't be." The voice was merciless. "You never were Jonathan Wells. You never were Agent Black. You are something else. A weapon forged in silence. But the real you was lost long ago." The blue glow shifted, revealing a control panel filled with buttons, blinking relentlessly. A face appeared, on a screen this time, his own, but cold, empty, and beneath it, flashing. Subject 47, reactivation sequence initiated. Jonathan's breath hitched. His body trembled. He was a ghost inside a coffin. A man made for war. A weapon turned prisoner. The real horror hit him then. The people he thought betrayed him, they were puppets. The lies, just layers protecting a darker machine. He wasn't running from enemies. He was trapped within himself. Behind the lies, beneath all the masks. Jonathan's voice cracked. "Who am I?" The machine hummed. The glow deepened. The voice from the shadows whispered close. "You're the future." But first, a sharp clang. Metal door slammed shut. The chamber sealed. Jonathan was alone. Or so he thought. Then a soft beep. An encrypted message blinked on a hidden screen. "They're already inside you. The war just began." And somewhere beyond the walls, far from the city lights and shattered glass, the real war was waking up, waiting. Jonathan swallowed hard. This was no rescue. It was a trap. And now he was the bait. Jonathan's breath caught in his throat. The cold glow of the screen faded, swallowing him in darkness. Silence stretched. It felt endless. His body trembled beneath the weight of that final message. "They're already inside you. The war just began." Minutes passed like hours. Then, a sudden flicker of light. A crack in the black. Slowly, a figure appeared beyond the glass walls of the tube. A woman. But not like Maria or the man in the hood. This one was younger. Her eyes were sharp, but held something softer, like she was searching, scanning. "Agent Black," she said, voice low, urgent, shaking the space. "Wake up." Jonathan's heart thundered, muscles tight. He blinked hard, trying to focus. "Who are you?" She hesitated, but stepped closer, the blue glow reflecting off her skin. "You're not who you think. None of this makes sense, because you've been erased." Before he could ask what she meant, the chamber shook violently. Panels cracked, sparks flew. Then, in a flash, the glass surrounding him shattered. Cold air rushed in. Jonathan gasped, chest burning. Hands gripped his arms. Warm, firm. The woman pulled him out of the tube, and suddenly, the world exploded into color. Bright lights blinded him. Voices shouted. Distant footsteps raced. Then, a voice broke through the chaos. Familiar, but terrifying. "Stop! This isn't him!" Jonathan jerked upright, heart plummeting. That voice, it was Maria's. Only cold, stoic, unrecognizable. She stepped forward, but not the protector he once knew. Her eyes were glazed, empty, like a ghost. Jonathan stumbled back, trembling fingers catching on a steel table. "Maria?" His voice cracked, hope and fear battling inside. The woman, or what was left of her, paused. Then the truth slammed him like a wrecking ball. Another man entered the room, tall, clean-cut, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Finally," he said smoothly, "you're awake." Jonathan's head whipped toward him. The man glanced down, then smiled wider. "Welcome back, Jonathan. Or should I say, the real Agent Black." Shock froze him. "Real?" Jonathan croaked. "There's more." The man nodded once, cold. "Your entire existence? A fabrication. Your memories, your identity, implanted. You've been living a lie created by us." Jonathan's knees nearly buckled. "You mean everything from the beginning? My father? Maria? The whole war? Fake?" The man laughed quietly. "Not fake. Controlled. You're a weapon designed by this program. We erased you. You've been a sleeper, a ticking bomb. All this chaos? A test. A reset." Jonathan's chest tightened so hard, it hurt to breathe. "But why? Why me?" The man leaned in, eyes sharp. "Because you're the key. The only one who can stop what's coming next." Then, the door behind slammed open. A group stormed in. Familiar faces, but twisted. Maria's face among them, alive, but different. Her eyes cold, robotic. Jonathan's mind shattered. "Maria? What happened to you?" The man smirked. "She's an override, a failsafe. If you go rogue, she's programmed to end you." Jonathan trembled, horror eating at his bones. The woman who saved him. The woman who betrayed him. Both lies. Both programmed. And then he noticed a small blinking light beneath her skin. A cold, steady pulse. Not human. A machine masquerading as flesh. He staggered backward, choking on the bitter truth. Everything was never real, not even me. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain, a jolt, like electricity blasting through his skull. His vision blurred, his mind flooded with images, files, codes, commands. And then, a cold mechanical voice filled the room. "Protocol. Termination initiated." Maria's override took a step forward, expression fixed and unyielding. Jonathan's heart shattered. He wasn't a man. He was a weapon. And the war had already won. His breath caught. "Who am I, really?" he whispered, voice raw, breaking. No answer came, only the cold hum of the machine, claiming what was left. Outside, the city held its breath. Inside, Jonathan wasn't fighting just for survival anymore. He was fighting for his soul. But the question burned. If nothing was real, who could he trust? And if Maria was a lie, then who had been the real enemy all along? Jonathan's voice cracked in the cold silence. "Who am I, really?" No one answered, just the soft hum of machines filling the dark room. His chest tightened, his hands trembled. The weight of it all crushed something inside. Then, a crack. The woman standing nearby stepped forward, her eyes sharp and urgent. "There's more," she said quietly. "You're about to learn. It changes everything." Before he could speak, the lights flickered, fast, like a stuttering heartbeat. The walls around them seemed to pulse, the air thickening. And then, a loud buzz cut through the tension. The screen behind the woman blossomed to life, showing a blurry video. A man's face, Jonathan's face, smiled back. Only it wasn't the Jonathan in the room. This one looked alive, vibrant, younger, free. The woman's voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not just the weapon. You're also a copy." Jonathan froze. The word hit him like a shove. "A copy?" His voice shook. "What does that mean?" She swallowed hard. "The Jonathan Wells you've lived as, the man you remember, isn't the original." The screen sharpened, revealing more faces. Not one, but dozens. Each a man with the same face, the same eyes. Some older, some younger, all with slight differences. "Clones," she said flatly. "Or backups. Copies made by the program to protect what they lost." Jonathan's breath hitched. His heart thundered faster. "So I'm a copy? A shadow? A lie?" The door slammed open behind her. Maria stepped in, her face pale, eyes wild. Not robotic now, but utterly human. "You don't get to hear this first," she spat, venom dripping from her tone. "I was sent to watch the original Jonathan. You're a mistake." The room shifted like a storm ready to break. Jonathan stumbled backward, struggling to catch his breath. "Wait, what do you mean?" "There's an original." Maria's laugh was bitter and broken. "He's alive, somewhere. We built you to replace him, to fool his enemies, and himself." The man who called himself Jonathan's father shook his head, stunned, angry. "They weaponized identity itself, made you a ghost in a machine." Jonathan's stomach twisted. The ground beneath him felt like it vanished. And suddenly, the voice from the shadows broke again. Not a mistake. It was cold, cruel, a failsafe. The lights flickered and dimmed. The screens shifted, showing a lab. The real Jonathan, the original, lay strapped to a table, eyes closed, chest rising and falling with machines. His expression was peaceful, almost, except for the faintest twitch of pain at the corner of his lips. "Wake him," the voice instructed. The woman hesitated, then hit a button. The original Jonathan's eyes snapped open, sharp, alive, dangerous. And then he looked straight at the camera, straight at them, and whispered, barely audible, but deadly clear, "You fools don't know who's really in control." Everything around Jonathan blurred. His own reflection on the screen morphed into something cold, sinister. He wasn't just a weapon, not just a copy. He was a trigger, a key. But what he would unlock, that question burned silent as the room fell into a hushed, terrified stillness. The original Jonathan smiled slowly. And then the screen went black. The woman's voice cracked. A ragged breath. "Welcome to the truth." Jonathan's heart slammed. Who was he really? Who was the original? And what nightmare was still waiting in the dark? The room waited for an answer. But all it got was the sound of Jonathan's ragged breath. Then, a single word, whispered behind him, ice cold. "Run." Jonathan's ragged breath filled the dark room, heavy and uneven. The word behind him, a quiet command, echoed louder than the chaos. "Run." He didn't move. His heart hammered too hard, like it wanted out of his chest. His hand shook so badly, he couldn't tell if he was alive or already dead. The screen went black. Silence came down like a thick blanket. Then, out of nowhere, a sharp click. The walls trembled, lights snapped on, and the world spun sideways. The room flooded with blinding fluorescent light. Alarm bells screamed, echoing loudly off the cold metal walls. Then came footsteps, fast, heavy, pounding toward him. Jonathan spun around, only to freeze. Standing there, framed by the doorway, was Maria. But not the Maria he'd known. Her eyes were wide, wild, not robotic. No trace of ice, just raw, wild panic. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Behind her, the man in the hood collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest in violent spasms. Jonathan's chest tightened. What the hell? Maria stumbled forward, grabbing his arm with desperate strength. "It's not what you think," she gasped, voice trembling, nearly breaking. Jonathan felt the temperature drop. His skin prickled, throat closing tight. Then, without warning, her entire body convulsed. A terrible sound tore from her throat. A scream twisted in pain, shaking the very air around them. Her eyes rolled back, revealing stark white. She fell forward, straight at Jonathan, cold and heavy. He caught her, heart slamming like a war drum. And in that terrible moment, the truth hit him like a flood. Maria wasn't alive. She was a shell. The room shifted again, as the man on the floor croaked out, "They poisoned her, activated the override." Jonathan stared down at her pale face, dread coiling tight in his gut. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, but not with life. They glowed red, menacing, alien. Her voice came out robotic, harsh, not her own. "You are my target." Jonathan stumbled back, breath frozen, his chest heaving fast as the woman he trusted transformed before him. Behind the glowing red eyes, Maria's face twisted. But it wasn't Maria anymore. It was a weapon. Something built to kill. He wanted to scream, to run. But the noise came first, a deep mechanical roar from the walls. The entire room vibrated. Steel panels slid open, revealing rows upon rows of identical pods, each housing a frozen figure, a mirror image of Jonathan. His breath hitched, his mind spun. "Copies," he whispered, voice cracking. "There were more like me." The man on the floor breathed shallowly, eyes darting between Jonathan and the possessed Maria. "They're building an army," Jonathan's legs wanted to give out. "Not just an army," the glowing Maria said, voice cold and clear. "You are the prototype. The original was never a person." Her words slammed into him, a chilling wave of realization. He never was human, not real, no soul, just a weapon forged from flesh and code. Tears burned his eyes, but he blinked them away. "No," he whispered, shaking his head. "This can't be." Maria took a step forward, and with a quick movement, grabbed a small device from her wrist. Protocol. Final phase. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, replaced by an eerie red glow. Jonathan's vision blurred. He clutched his head, pain stabbing deep, and then the screen he'd seen earlier flickered back to life. But this time, it wasn't just showing one man. It was showing all of them. The man in the hood, gasping from his collapse, looked up just in time to see hundreds of faces. His, Jonathan's, variations of the same ghost, marching endlessly on the screen. This isn't a war," he whispered, voice raw, broken. "This is a build, a factory, a nightmare made real." Jonathan's throat closed. His heart battered his ribs so hard he thought it would burst. And somehow, all this time, he had been the blueprint, the original monster, not the victim, not the man playing a part, the weapon, the fucking goddamned blueprint. Maria took another slow step forward, the red glow pulsing from her eyes now. "Destroy the prototype," she said, her voice not hers, but the machine's. Jonathan backed away, chest tight, legs barely listening. The weight of everything crashed down. His identity, his memories, the fragile hope he'd clung to. All gone, replaced by a terrifying truth. He was never Jonathan Wells. He was never Agent Black. He was something far worse. And now, he'd just been told to kill himself. The world blurred as the room's metal doors started sliding shut. And somewhere deep inside, a single thought burned bright. Who's really pulling the strings? And why had they built him to destroy himself? The answers were miles away. But the hunt was only just beginning. Jonathan's breath caught, the last sliver of hope slipping into shadows, and the echo of his own name, nothing but a whisper in a factory of ghosts. The metal doors slid shut behind him with a grinding screech, sealing Jonathan inside the crimson-lit chamber. His breath came quick and shallow, heart pounding like a drum gone wild. His hands shook so hard he almost dropped to his knees, the weight of every secret crashing down all at once. The room hummed, cold, clipped, unfeeling, and then silence. For a long moment, nothing but the electric buzz of the lights. Then, from deep within the chamber, a slow, metallic click. The floor beneath him vibrated again, and suddenly a hidden panel slid open, blinking faintly with blue light. Jonathan backed away, eyes darting toward the unexpected glow. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. A man. Not the man with the hood. Not Maria. Someone new. His face was pale, almost too smooth, but those eyes, bright, urgent, locked onto Jonathan with an intensity that punched through the gloom. "Jonathan," the man said softly, voice tight but steady. "You don't know me, but you've seen me before." Jonathan swallowed thick, chest burning with cold fear. "Who are you?" he gasped. The man's lips twitched into a grim smile. "I'm everything you never knew, and everything you thought you were." Before Jonathan could speak, the blue light intensified, flooding the whole room. Screens ignited along the walls, projecting live footage, snapshots of Jonathan's life. But as the frames shifted, the images twisted into something warped and horrifying. There was Jonathan, smiling with Maria, shaking hands with his so-called father, walking the penthouse halls. But then the faces flickered, the smiles faded. Behind the scenes, the truth spilled like blood. Jonathan wasn't just a weapon. He was the creator. Every deception, every lie, every ghost and shadow in his life, he had built them all. The man stepped closer, voice dropping to a whisper that cut through the spinning images. "You were never the target. You were the mastermind. Agent Black is you." Jonathan's breath caught, heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst the cage of his ribs. His knees threatened to give out. "What?" His voice cracked. I was behind all of it?" The man nodded slowly, eyes sharp. "You erased your own past, created false lives to hide the real you." The screen zoomed in on a memory Jonathan didn't recognize. A younger version of himself, sitting in a cold lab, eyes glassy, wires crawling over his skin. A technician's hands hovering over a keyboard. Then the technician turned to the camera. The face was unmistakable, the pale man standing before him. "I'm you," the man said simply. "Or at least, the piece of you left behind, the part too dangerous to live." And Maria, the housekeeper, she was never watching over you. She was your protector in the shadows, until you decided she wasn't enough. Jonathan shook his head, desperate to fight it. "This can't be true. Before he could finish, the air cracked with a sudden blast. The walls around him fractured like glass, and through the shards stepped another figure, the real Maria. But this Maria was alive, breathing, human. Her eyes flooded with tears as she froze, staring between Jonathan and the man. "You lied," she whispered, voice breaking. "You created the war. You made me lie, made me protect a shadow." Jonathan's throat tightened. His world collapsed again. Then the pale man added, voice heavy with cruel truth. "Jonathan Wells never existed. You built him, but in doing so, you lost yourself." Maria stepped forward, reaching out with trembling hands. "And now? Now you have to choose. Face the monster you made, or let it kill everything you ever cared about." "Okay." Jonathan's chest trembled, eyes darting between them, his hands clenched tight. His whole life, a blueprint for destruction, a trap he set for himself, and the question that stabbed deeper than any blade. Who was he when none of it was real? The chamber rumbled again. The screens dimmed, and the man whispered, almost cruelly, "The war wasn't out there. It's always been inside." Then came the silence. Jonathan's ragged breath filled it, and somewhere deep within, a flicker of something new, a desperate spark. Who am I, really? The answer wasn't coming. But one thing was clear. Every truth he'd clung to was just another lie. And now, the game had changed forever. The chamber trembled again, steel groaning like it wanted to break apart. Jonathan's chest tightened, every breath a fight against the crushing weight inside him. The pale man, his own fractured shadow, stepped back into the dim light, eyes sharp. "You have to choose," he said, voice low but fierce. "Let the monster win, or take control." Jonathan's hands shook so badly, he almost dropped to his knees. Faces twisted on the screens around him. Maria's, the man in the hoods, even his own, fractured and broken reflections of a life that wasn't his. Then, from the shadows, the real Maria stepped forward, alive, human, eyes swimming with tears, but fierce in a way nothing else could match. "You forgot something," she said quietly. "I never stopped fighting for you, even when you couldn't." Jonathan blinked, pain raw and thick in his throat. His fists clenched tight, too tight. The weight of betrayal, lies, and endless dark fought for space with the sliver of hope warming deep inside. He looked at the man, the incomplete piece of himself who wanted him gone, and then back at Maria. Slowly, Jonathan reached out, not to the weapon, not to the shadow, but to the woman who never gave up. The chamber's cold hum began to fade. The endless flickering screens softened to black. His breath hitched, raw and uneven. What now?" he whispered. Maria smiled, shaky but real. "Now you choose who you want to be." The pale man stepped aside, shadows creeping in behind him, threatening to swallow everything. But Jonathan straightened, feeling the first steady beat inside his chest. All wrong, all broken, but his. Then the lights dimmed, the floor settled, the chamber doors creaked open, peeling back the metal like the promise of escape. Outside, silence stretched, thick and heavy. The distant city lights flickered on the horizon, a broken world, but still alive. Jonathan walked forward, each step a fight, carrying a truth heavier than steel. He wasn't just a weapon, not just a copy. He was human, for now, but the war was far from over. A whisper brushed past his ear, soft and urgent. "Run, The question hung in the air. Who was really pulling the strings? And what nightmare was still waiting in the dark? Jonathan's breath caught, the future a blur of shadows and flickering threats. Some answers waited out there, in the night, in the chaos. But one thing was certain. The game had only just begun, and he had to be ready. Hey, listen up. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss a single moment of the wild stories coming your way. Smash that like button right now. This is the moment to show your support and feed the algorithm like crazy. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your thoughts, your theories, your shock. Tell me how this ending hit you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see how it ends. Only the true fans get just how important your support is here. So don't hold back. Let's keep this story alive together.